For this video, I thought instead of focusing on a game that I'd missed out on, I would much rather revisit a game that made such a lasting impression on me that I see it as an important part of my gaming history. So grab your herbs and get ready to once again enter the world of survival horror. The year was 1996. The world was obsessed with Super Soakers and Tamagotchis. I was a chubby little 14-year-old who was perhaps just a little bit different from the rest of my class. After a series of what I can only describe as questionable decisions regarding what type of film is acceptable for a child to watch, my older brother and cousins introduced me to the horror genre, a genre I still love to this day. With two of my main interests being horror movies and video games, my excitement was immeasurable when I heard of a zombie game on the PlayStation named Resident Evil. The only real issue at the time was, I didn't own a PlayStation yet. Luckily for me, I had a cousin who was a terrible influence who I knew would let me have a go on his copy, which he did. And of course, I shat my pants. The following year, I was able to get my own PlayStation, and of course, Resident Evil was one of the first games I played. And this is where it all started, a lifelong love of the franchise. Resident Evil, known as Biohazard in Japan, went through several changes during its development cycle. The game's producer, Tokuro Fujiwara, originally intended it to be a remake of the Famicom game Sweet Home, which was in turn based on a horror film of the same title. Then its development changed both platform and direction as it moved from the Super Nintendo to the PlayStation 1, where it's intended to be a first-person game. And then finally, with Shinji Mikami in the director's seat, it settled into being the third-person, fixed camera angle tank control classic that we all know and love.
Resident Evil.
One other interesting fact about this game is that it actually coined the term survival horror. This had never been used before, and is still used to this day. The story starts in July 1998. The Alpha Squad of the Special Tactics and Rescue Service have been sent into the Raccoon Forest, searching for the missing Bravo Squad. Bravo Squad was sent in to investigate a series of grisly murders and disappearances in the local area. When Alpha Squad land their chopper, they fan and search for signs of Bravo Squad. They find the Bravo's helicopter crashed, and within minutes they find the remains of Bravo member Kevin Dooley. Then, almost immediately, Alpha Squad are attacked by a pack of infected dogs known as Cerberus. Alpha Squad's Joseph Frost is torn to shreds in front of his teammates, leading to the most passionate outcry of the name Joseph I've ever heard.
Joseph!
The remaining team members, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, and Albert Wesker, run for their lives and seek shelter in a nearby building, the Spencer Mansion.
Wow! What a mansion!
After the first few minutes of exploring the ground floor, Barry finds traces of blood in the dining room.
Jill, see if you can find
Barry
the
stays
other
behind to
clues.
examine
I'll
the
be
blood,
examining this.
leaving you to explore a nearby corridor, leading to probably one of gaming's most iconic scenes. From here on out, it's up to Jill and Chris as the two playable protagonists to explore the mansion, solve puzzles, fight off a variety of enemies, and uncover the inhuman T-virus experiments conducted by the pharmaceutical giant Umbrella Incorporated. Resident Evil is a 3D exploration game with a large focus on inventory management. You only have a few inventory slots on your person, and so you must carefully decide what to take with you. This inventory management system is facilitated by using universal item boxes usually found in save rooms. You save the game via a typewriter so long as you have an ink ribbon with you. This is where the universal item box comes in handy. You just leave your ribbons in there and there will always be one in a save room. To allow the development team to have a higher polygon count on their 3D models, they used pre-rendered 2D backgrounds, and this, mixed with a static camera angle, allows the game to have a very cinematic quality. With this approach, a lot of the tension comes from not being able to see outside of the frame, while often being able to hear what's waiting for you. The choices of weaponry available to the player are very few. You start with either a handgun or a knife, and from here you can find a shotgun, grenade launcher and a magnum, and that's it. I don't really feel like you need more, all of them are useful and fun, but I can't help but think if this was a more modern game, then there'd probably just be a larger selection. Whilst exploring, you'll have to defend yourself from zombies, the Cerberus dogs, giant snakes, spiders, and a lizard-like mutant creature known as a hunter. If you take damage while fighting these creatures, you can heal yourself with a first aid spray, or mix up some herbs that you found on the floor and eat them. That'll make you better. In 2002, this game got a fully fledged remake on the GameCube, which is fantastic, and this has subsequently been re-released in HD on most modern platforms. For this video, I felt like I'd get all nostalgic, so I played the director's cut of the original PlayStation 1 game. I used my PlayStation 5 to make capturing footage much easier. Obviously, being an early PlayStation 1 3D game, the graphics won't hold up at all against modern console games, and sure, this might be a barrier to entry for you if you're a newcomer to the series and this is your first time playing. But I absolutely love them. They take me on a heady nostalgia trip back to my younger days, playing this on my own in the dark and genuinely being petrified. This game is definitely a product of its era, and I would be being dishonest if I didn't mention its flaws. If you ask anyone, the two things that are going to come up are going to be the tank controls or its awful voice acting.
Just as I thought.
I'll start with the tank controls. Up on the D-pad always moves your character forward, regardless of your position or the placement of the camera. They can take a lot to get used to, and they're far from being perfect. But with the camera being fixed, it was, for the time, probably the best solution. Now I know people love to absolutely bash the tank controls, but I can tell you from personal experience I've played many other games of the same era which have far worse control schemes. And now, over to the star of the show, the voice acting.
You're here too?
It's true, the voice acting in this game is atrocious, and I bloody love every single line of it.
Ouch! Jill? Is that you, Jill?
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
No! Don't go!
How can you not love that? But in all seriousness, this clearly was not a top priority for the developers, because they essentially just found a bunch of random teachers that were Westerners and said, "You look about right, do you want to come and run about in a field while we film you?" So, while it may not surprise you that the voice actors were not actually actors in the first place, what might surprise you is that it's taken until very recently to identify and find these voice actors. There is even actually a recent video of the original Barry, Chris and Wesker actors sitting down and playing Resident Evil for the first time. You can find that over on the Residents of Evil channel. It's definitely worth a watch if you're into this kind of thing, so I'll link it in the description.
Wesker.
If you hadn't already guessed, I absolutely love this game and I can't recommend it highly enough. Playing through Resident Evil again for this video brought back memories. It made me understand why I loved the game so much when I was younger. This is B-movie horror at its finest. It's got a fantastic juxtaposition between cheesy campiness and genuine scares. Though this game is less than perfect, I honestly couldn't give it any less than 4 out of 5
Stars.
Not now, mate, you're a little bit early. If you feel you can't go back this far in time, then please just play the Resident Evil remake in HD. It's got updated controls and the graphics are fantastic even to this day. And so, here we are at the end of another video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Give a like and subscribe. If you have any feedback, as long as it's constructive, you can pop that in the comments and I'll take it on board. And once again, thank you for watching.